Hi, in this activity, I'll show you how you can quickly replace the colour inside an image, and this particular way is foolproof. The lecture is marked as optional because I'll teach you a better technique later in the course, but that will require additional steps and a few other bits of knowledge. Through this specific technique, anyone can remember the upcoming steps and they produce good results. So you can watch this lecture if you want the easy way of replacing a colour, or you can skip ahead to the next video and you'll learn about this subject later in the course. Okay, if you're still with me, I'll duplicate my initial layer and we'll call this option 1. Next, I'll click on my foreground colour and I'll play around with my colour picker so I can get a nice shade of blue. You can use whatever colour you want. I'll go with this one. Great. Here's why this is foolproof. Go to your toolbox, click and hold on the brush tool. From this menu, choose Colour Replacement Tool. Focus on your options bar so we can set everything correctly. The mode is the most important choice. Here we want to change this red shirt and make it blue, so the best setting for the job is colour. Luminosity will try and match the brightness of our foreground colour. If we try it out, you'll see it's not going to look right. Saturation mode is great when you want to adjust the intensity of your initial colour, but mostly it's going to wash out this red. And hue produces weird results because it tries to change the colour, but it doesn't affect the saturation or the brightness, so that means it will look blotchy on vividly coloured areas. So my advice is you stick to colour. My brush should be fairly large, say 500 pixels. For its hardness, I want it somewhere in the middle, so 50% should do just fine. Lastly, my tolerance will impact how loosely Photoshop will replace my colours. Here I'll start with 20%. Let's start painting and then we can adjust it as we go. And as you can see, it does a pretty good job. This is a great exercise because it forces you to use your square bracket keys as you go along. And that's because if you focus on his collar and your brush is too big, you'll make him look like a smurf, and that's not the goal here. So for smaller areas, decrease your brush size and zoom in so you can better address those spots. And as you can see, things are going pretty well except for the shoulder region. There, it seems Photoshop isn't doing a great job, and that's because of all the details in that area. The colour isn't as solid as in this region, so that's why we're having trouble replacing it. But that's why we have this tolerance slider. Continue painting, and I recommend you go over each area several times. Remember to zoom in and adjust your size, otherwise you'll have a hard time with these sleeves. Even so, it's going to be tricky to avoid painting over his skin, but that's the trade-off. On one hand, this is very simple to set up, just choose a colour and start painting. On the other hand, it's not very flexible. When you go over an area by accident, your only choice is to use Ctrl-Z to undo. Trouble is, if you're holding down your mouse click for 20 to 30 seconds at a time, once you undo, you'll lose all your progress. So this isn't a perfect technique, it definitely has its drawbacks, but it's very easy to remember, so that's why I started with it. Let's move on to another option. We'll hide this copy and make another one. Here, this is a bit more flexible. Go to Image, Adjustments. From this list, choose Replace Colour, which is the second to last one. From this new window, you can see Photoshop still sees that blue I previously selected as my colour choice. Next, you have to click anywhere on his shirt. That's because we want to edit. Immediately, this shows up in this preview window, and you may want to adjust your fuzziness for a better result. Here I have it set all the way up to 200. As I take it down, we can see how other areas fade away and we're left with more of this polo shirt. If we switch to the middle icon, this will add to our affected area. I'll click somewhere in these darker regions. Okay, it seems this is too much, so again, let's get the third one. Focus on his arms and on his face. Okay, now for the colour replacement, we'll use these three handles. The hue is what you're mostly interested in. Make sure you zoom in just a bit so you can better see the result. Ctrl-1 is your friend in this case. And now move these up and down and see how the new t-shirt looks. This is another technique that's easy to remember, but as you can see from these edges, we're still having trouble isolating parts of the image. Nevertheless, we're working on a duplicate layer so we can tune these results until we're happy. The great thing is you can enable or disable localized color clusters and see how this affects your photo. Sometimes this may yield great results, but it's all a matter of fine-tuning this fuzziness slider. So these are two techniques that are quick and easy to remember. If you're not 100% satisfied, don't worry. When we start talking about selections, I'll present some options that are much more flexible and accurate, though they'll require a bit more effort. In the meantime, try it out on your own photos and see how well you do. Have fun!